Hello, everyone, and welcome to Down the Wire Sports. I'm your host, David Adams, with my friends Jack and Julian. And today we're going to be talking about sleepers and busts for fantasy football in this upcoming season.
So for the upcoming fantasy NFL season, my number one sleeper is the Miami Dolphins running back Kenyon Drake, and my bust would be Dallas Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott. So Kenyon Drake, ever since Jay Ajayi left last year for the Dolphins, he was the main running option, and he was putting up crazy numbers. He was one of the NFL's leading rushers, and was putting up pretty decent fantasy numbers.
Here's my thing. I like Kenyon Drake. I know he'll get a lot of carries, but I have concerns with the Dolphins' offensive line. I mean, they just weren't consistent last year. That's why Ajayi couldn't get it working there, and then he got to the Eagles and kind of picked it up a little bit.
But they don't have any options, at least in the receiving part. Like, Jarvis Landry just left for the Browns, and Ryan Tannehill, let's face it, isn't that great of a quarterback.
All right, but
So,
their
they
offense...
kind of have to rely on
But, I mean, they
Drake.
picked up key receivers like Danny Amendola, who's clutch, and
See,
downfield
Amendola-
threat.
And they drafted Gesicki as well.
Being a Patriots fan, I know Amendola gets hot in the playoffs, but other than that, it's just some dump and run
But their
passes.
offensive line is pretty underrated because Laramie Tunsil's coming back from injury. Was
Yeah.
considered to be a possible first overall pick. They got Josh Sitton, consistently one of the best guards in the NFL. They got Jawan James back from injury, who was a top 10 tackle when he was healthy. So their offensive line is going to be better. And Tannehill, before he got injured, was one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. So the Dolphins...
So I think they're going to start to lean on Ryan Tannehill more since he's back. Because last year, at the end of the season, after they got rid of Ajayi and started using Kenyon Drake more, they had Jay Cutler or Matt Moore at quarterback, and they relied on the run game more.
See, in a PPR stance, Kenyon Drake actually would be kind of good because if the Dolphins copy some of the Patriots' play style with some screen passes, like you said,
But
Adam Gase likes
he's-
that.
There's literally a 5-minute YouTube compilation of every screen Adam Gase threw last year. Like, he loves his screens, especially to, like, Damian Williams.
That's why I'm
last
saying
year.
Kenyon Drake would be good because those dump and run screen passes, PPR, that gives you extra points.
I do think that they'll rely more on the pass this year, though, because they picked up downfield threat Albert Wilson. They have Danny Amendola. They have Devontae Parker, who I think was going to start to pick it up. And obviously Ryan Tannehill is back. And I still have concerns with their offensive line, so I don't know if they're going to lean on Kenyon Drake that heavily.
They're not going to lean on him, but even if they become a more passing-based offense, that gives him opportunity to be maybe not a running back one, but a pretty consistent running back two.
I think they're going to balance it a little bit with Kellen Balazs, too. I think Kellen Balazs is a really good rookie, and he has a chance to be a Corey Clement of last year. And
But he
undrafted.
was a fourth-round pick, and Kenyon Drake's in his third year, so he does have a lot more. And Adam Gase has said that he wants Kenyon Drake to be getting at least 20 carries per game.
I think Kellen Balazs is a very talented running back, and he can actually compete for that starting job with Kenyon Drake.
See, honestly, if you were going to start Kenyon Drake in your fantasy football league, you put him in a flex spot because if there's some wavering about the confidence of the offensive line with the Dolphins, they're going to be doing some running, but then with the outfield or with the deep field threats that they just picked up, along with Danny Amendola, you're going to be getting some passes too. So you can get that double whammy with extra runs and some screen passes with PPR. All right, so what about your bust?
So that bust is Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott. So in his first year, he kind of blew up, was very exciting. People thought like he could be one of the NFL's best quarterbacks. But in the recent 1 to 2 years, he's kind of fallen off and been inconsistent. And he's just not really showing what he showed in his first year. And now that Jason Witten retired, one of his most consistent targets, and Des Bryant's just not interested in the Cowboys anymore, and it's just a sticky situation there.
There's so much uncertainty there, and especially I think Dak didn't do so well last year because maybe he just didn't have his buddy Zeke there for a couple of games with all the suspension crap and stuff going on. But I'd say I agree with you with the bust. But I mean, every player has a down year, and maybe Dak just got his out of the way early, so you never know.
So Allen Hurns is probably going to be his number one receiver. And even in Jacksonville, when Allen Hurns was good, he wasn't their number one receiver. He was their number two receiver. And the Cowboys, their offense is built around running. They've always been a run-first team, and their offensive line is not really a great pass blocking, but they're a fantastic run blocking.
I think if Zeke can stay in there, because as soon as Zeke got back last year from suspension, Dak picked it up, and they started winning games. But, I mean, they got rid of, Jason Witten left. They got rid of Des Bryant. Bryce Butler is gone. He's number 2 receiver. Now he's leaning on Cole Beasley and Allen Hurns.
Terrence Williams.
And I don't know. I don't know if I can just trust that, especially from a guy like Dak Prescott,
think-
who's so hyped up in his first
I think
year.
he's skilled enough for the Cowboys to win games, but I don't think he's the type of quarterback you want in fantasy. I don't think he's going to be putting up 300-yard games any more than like 2
especially
touchdowns.
with like no star player there. At least last year you did have Jason Witten, who's, like we've said before, gone, and Dez Bryant, who's just up in the air, most likely leaving Dallas. It's going to be relying heavily on Zeke, especially they're going to be glad to have him back after suspensions and kind of wavy, off year last year with the suspensions and crap. Dak's not going to be that good. So if you want to pick him up as a backup, I'd say, he's still a skilled quarterback, and he might be useful for a bye week or something like that, but do not start.
I don't expect him to put up 20 points at all this season, maybe once. But let's see, Jack. What does Jack have for sleepers and busts?
So I'm going to start off with my bust. I got Jimmy Garoppolo in his first full season as a 49er. I think this because he was so hyped up last year. He didn't have too many hard opponents last year. He came in and won a few games at the end of the season. But can he keep that up? I don't think he can. They just got rid of Carlos Hyde, his best running back, and now picked up Jerick McKinnon. Jerick McKinnon isn't as good of a run guy, so they're going to consistently pass more. And I feel like that's going to just keep defenses on their toes, and I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to have the same season he did last year.
Here's what I think. Since he got thrown into the 49ers whole situation partway through the season, was actually able to adjust well and win them some games, they're he better be the starter, but also if he was able to make adjustments that quickly, being able to work with a fresh team since from the beginning of the year, from the get-go, I think he'll be able to adjust more and put out some better numbers, even better numbers than last year, and maybe take the 49ers to a wild card spot.
But if you think about the 49ers, especially in the division they're in with the Seahawks and the Rams, they have some really good pass defenses there. You think of his receivers, no one really comes to mind. Marquise Goodwin is not a wide receiver one. He has no tight ends that I can think of that are any good. His receivers are extremely below average. His O-line's fine, but Joe Staley's even getting up there in age, so I just don't trust. I think Garoppolo's a good quarterback, but I don't think the weapons around him are enough for him to have a quarterback one season.
That's also true, but then again, he was trained by Tom Brady, and he's got a supporting cast that flows in and out every couple of years, and he's had to adjust to that. And hopefully, if he has some of Brady's play style, he'll still be able to bring some success to San Francisco, even with that, not really great supporting cast and are always rotating.
Like Julian said, I think he has tough defenses this year. L.A., Seattle, even Arizona has a good defense. And I don't think he's going to really make it through that division very easily, especially as a young quarterback. And again, his receivers, you just can't lean on them. Marquise Goodwin, all those guys. I just can't see them being reliable receivers for Jimmy Garoppolo. And I just feel like he's a bit of a risk to take in your fantasy draft, especially since he might be going high.
Now see if the 49ers make some move or whatever partway through the season and get a good receiver or two because they see the potential that they have in Jimmy Garoppolo and that he could possibly become a franchise quarterback, and they want to give him a good supporting cast and set him up for greatness in the future. Then if, say, Jimmy G's on your waiver wire or something like that, I'd say go ahead and pick him up. But if San Francisco can't really get any good guys around him, don't even bother.
All right, Jack, how about your sleeper?
So my sleeper is Adam Thielen, the receiver for the Minnesota Vikings. And some people might say they're not going to he's not going to be their number one target because of the other receivers they have, Stephon Diggs and Kyle Rudolph at tight end. But defenses are going to be on their toes again, looking at Diggs and Thielen. So they're not going to double team Thielen or, game plan just for Adam Thielen. I think having Stephon Diggs on the team helps them a little bit. And last year, Adam Thielen, he's not a big red zone threat, but he did have over 1,200 yards and was targeted 142 times. So he gets a lot of targets in the season. He's one of their main receivers, and when the ball's thrown to him, he usually catches it.
And thinking about their quarterback, Case Keenum is not the most confident quarterback. Doesn't really throw it downfield, so he was more suited for Adam Thielen. But now with Kirk Cousins, his main targets in Washington was a tight end and then speedy receivers like Pierre Garçon, which would more fit Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen. So I'm kind of skeptical on how Adam Thielen's going to fit into Kirk Cousins' play style.
Yeah, that's very true. Thielen actually was pretty solid last year, so I wouldn't necessarily name him a sleeper. But if you can pick him up or draft him in later rounds, maybe as a bench receiver that you can put in during a bye week, or maybe even if Vikings are going up against an easier team, like maybe the Detroit Lions or the Chicago Bears in their division, I'd say put him in.
I think Adam Thielen can kind of be like a slightly worse version of Jarvis Landry last year. A guy who gets a lot of catches, but maybe not a lot of yards, and can be a consistent flex or wide receiver 2 option. But I would stick away from picking him the first 3 to 4 rounds.
Adam Thielen is also a very reliable receiver. He doesn't get injured much. He has never missed an NFL game. He has played all 4 years on the Vikings. He has played all 16 games. I just think that he's just a reliable guy, consistent day in and day out, and I think he's going to get you a lot of fantasy points. He only had like 5 touchdowns last year, but he gets yards, he gets a lot of catches for your PPR league, and I think that's pretty solid, and I think he'll pick it up this year, especially with Kirk Cousins, a better quarterback, who I know fits like speedy receiver styles, but I think that downfield, because Kirk Cousins loves to go downfield, if Thielen can figure that out because he's more of a medium receiver, then I think he can put up more points this year.
For a sleeper, I don't see how Adam Thielen can do any better than he did last year because he emerged as a wide receiver 1. And for a sleeper, you need to be doing better than you did in previous years. And I just don't see how we can possibly do better than last year.
People don't look at Adam Thielen and say, this is one of the best receivers in the league. I barely know anyone who would put him in the top 10. I think he's one of the most underrated players in the league, and I think he can go late in the rounds, and people are going to look there and be like, oh, wow, they have other receivers. Why would I pick Adam Thielen? But I just think that Adam Thielen is a solid player, and he's going to get you a consistent amount of points in your fantasy season.
So Adam Thielen isn't necessarily a sleeper, but he is a solid player. And if you could pick him up in some later rounds, like mid to late rounds in your fantasy draft, if it's a PPR league, I say pull the trigger. Now, for my bust, I have Odell Beckham Jr. He had a rocky season last year with, he's got his temper tantrums on the sidelines.
Rocky?
Well, he was putting up like 20 fantasy points a game, especially against the Eagles. He had 2-3 touchdowns. Like, he was playing amazing.
He wasn't consistent.
He wasn't. He played 5 games.
In those 5 games, he did not do that well. He did.
Yes,
He had two or three games that were good.
No, he didn't. He had 3 touchdowns last year. He had as many touchdowns in 4.5 games, and then Julio did in the whole entire year.
How many touchdowns did he have? In Odell Beckham Jr., how many touchdowns did he have?
3 this season before he got injured. He had 2 against the Giants and 1 big one against the Chargers.
Then
He
how
put up solid stats the rest of the year.
Odell was injured the rest of the
25
year?
receptions, 302 yards.
He was injured the rest of the year. How could he put up that
In the games that he
consistent
played,
numbers for the rest of the year?
Solid. Especially with Eli Manning at quarterback, they had a rough season. Odell got injured. That obviously declined them a little bit. But in the games he played really good.
See, even with the injury, I feel like Odell Beckham Jr. and with the Giants just going into decline mode and how they, overall as a team, the Giants didn't do too well last year. I feel like Odell Beckham Jr. may be able to help them a little bit, but it's not going to be enough for, Eli Manning to keep stepping up his game. Honestly, he's getting older. His brother, already retired. So
I think Saquon Barkley's going to help him. Saquon Barkley is good in the running game and the passing game, so they're going
that takes points away from Odell Beckham
I think
Jr.
that-
But then, because Odell Beckham last year was the only threat on the Giants when he did play, right? And now they have Saquon Barkley. I think that defenses are going to be looking at Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley's good in the pass game and the run game, and Odell Beckham just going to get clear and have a breakout season again.
But defenses already know that Odell Beckham Jr. is a star player and that he can perform well. So I think they're going to be sizing Saquon Barkley up a bit, but not necessarily putting their main focus on a rookie.
But for OBJ, his question has never really been talent. He's one of the top 3 most talented receivers in the league. It's more like discipline and tantrum and then keeping himself healthy. So I don't think you need to worry about him putting up numbers. I think you need to worry about him staying on the field and being a consistent receiver.
Why do you think he's going to have a decline year?
Because he's coming off of injury. That's not always good. Some players can bounce back very easily from injury and some players can't. And especially, say Odell can bounce back pretty well, but still with Saquon Barkley is going to take take passes and points away from Odell Beckham Jr. in your fantasy lineup.
Well, Odell Beckham, remember, was injured for the first, 4 or 5 games of his rookie season, and look what he did in the rookie season. He had a breakout breakout year, made a name for himself. I think Odell Beckham will come off really good off this injury, and it was happened a while ago, week 5 of this season. So I think
In his rookie
time to
season,
heal.
he was injured 4 or 5 games. Last season, he only played 4 or 5 games. There's a big difference there on the number of games he played between those 2 seasons.
But Odell Beckham is one of the most. He has a veteran quarterback that knows him, Eli Manning.
Eli Manning
They
is
can
declining.
rely on
He's
each
getting
other.
old. Eli Manning's getting old.
So is Tom Brady. So is Aaron Rodgers.
But Brady's still good. He made it to the Super Bowl last year. Eli Manning didn't do crap.
Eli Manning made it to the playoffs 2 years ago. Look at Eli Manning, who's
2 years ago, not
look who
last
he's
year.
throwing to last year, Roger Lewis Jr., Sterling Shepard for like a few games.
I think OBJ, he can be good, but he's kind of a risky player to take in maybe the early first round because his ceiling is best receiver in the league, putting up 20 points consistently. But he could get suspended. There's like this stuff with him with the drugs in the leaked video. He could get injured. He could just decide to stop playing. He could get a bad relationship with the playing staff, with the players around him. But I think he's not a player like you'd hesitate to take in like the teen range of your draft if you have that many teams, or maybe in the early second round. But I think if you're at the top 5 pick, you might want to stay away from him.
We got to think about this too. The games he played last year, who was his head coach?
Ben McAdoo.
He's gone. Ben McAdoo, they have new coaching in. Odell can get a new play style. He'll play better than he was last year. Ben McAdoo just ruined.
All
the
right,
Giants.
Ben McAdoo is an extremely toxic coach, but still, you gotta give him you gotta give OBJ a year to come back from injury and adjust to the new coach and maybe get his temper down. So I'd say he still would be good this year, just not as good as previous years,
I think OBJ,
and that's why he's a bust.
I don't think as long as he's on the field, I don't think he can possibly be a bust. He's too talented. Like you can just throw him a screen, and he can make a crazy play out of it. But I think he's maybe matured as a person, having sat out for most of the season. And I just think that he will have grown as a player and as a person and put up a better year than most people will expect.
Maybe than most people would expect, but still not compared to his rookie year where he absolutely dominated and made a name for himself. So I'd say if you are drafting in your PPR league and if you're say top 5 pick, do not waste it on Odell Beckham Jr. I'd say if you're the last pick in the first round, first pick, second round, second pick, second round, maybe go for him then. Depends on who you've got.
All right, let's move on to your sleeper.
All right, my sleeper is Sony Michel, the new running back that the Patriots drafted. See, the Patriots can use anybody. And if, they use, former Popeyes employees to win Super Bowls, okay?
Not last year.
You want to shut up? But Sony Michel he's a utility player. The Patriots can just, I know Jack says this all the time, but, Brady can give him dump and run passes all day. And
That's all Brady does. You watch a Patriots game, he gives dump off passes to running
because
backs
he
and
doesn't have a deep field threat. He had Brandon Cooks last year, and now he's gone.
But as
We don't have a deep field threat
as
right
a
now.
Dolphins fan, I was really keeping an eye on Sony Michel. I really wanted him as a second-round player because I really think he has the skill set to be like LaShawn McCoy-like player. He's very shifty, he's really quick feet, and he's a great pass catcher.
Thank you.
And I was really nervous when I saw the Patriots picked him because the Patriots have never really had a consistent running back, a consistent, skilled, injury-free
We always have to
running back.
use 4 running backs a year.
And I'm really scared to see how the Patriots can do with a good, consistent running back for a full year.
I think Sony Michel will fit into the Patriots scheme perfectly because they love to run screen passes, little dump off passes, and a lot of running backs get a lot of points on their team, right? And here's the thing, though: the Patriots use a lot of running backs. They have James
we use numerous running backs a year because of either injury or
Mike
Bill
Gillis,
Belichick's just
Mike Gillis
oh,
was
you
still on
dropped
the team.
you had one fumble. I'm gonna sit you for the
But
rest
they
of
use
the
a
year.
first-round pick on a running back. You don't use a first-round pick for someone to play with 3 other people for their position. They want a running back.
All right, so we still got James White. Deion Lewis is gone.
I know, but still, a rookie. It's
Mike
good to split
Gillisley?
carries.
Gillisley wasn't really a highlight last
Burkhead.
year. Burkhead is more of that third or fourth string that we use sometimes.
third down back.
I'd say so. Maybe to just punch it in over the goal line or something like that. So that's
I feel like they won't put in Sony Michel for goal line opportunities, though. He won't get a lot of touchdowns.
I think he's a.
See, I'd say if it's first and or third and goal, maybe at the 5-yard line, that's when they put in Sony Michel. But Rex Burkhead is more of a 2 yards away from the end zone or 2 yards away from a first down and just punch it through.
I really think Michelle has the skill set of all those, because the Patriots use multiple running backs because they all have their unique skill sets. Like
He's got
White
all
has
those
the pass
skill
catching,
sets.
Gillespie had the
like,
power. Burkhead just could get you a couple yards. But I think Michelle can do it all, and I think it's good for him to split carries so he doesn't get injured and can like mature as a player. I think he's a really good sleeper for this year, especially as a late round like flex target.
Thing is, Sony Michelle, good thing is, he's used to splitting carries. He split carries in college with Nick Chubb, one of the best running backs in the draft this year. I think that he's going to be used to it. I think he's going to be mature. I think he's going to say, Bill Belichick, all right, I'm ready to do this. And I think he'll do his job and, get the Patriots some wins and help out Tom Brady.
Yeah, so for Sony Michel, if you're drafting your PPR league, don't take him first round. You take a star running back first round, but do not put him in your queue. And if he's still available, say in an 8 to 10 league and 8 to 10 team league, if he's still available, round 5 and up, I'd say snag him whenever you get the chance. Because he will put up consistently good numbers for you. Because if the Patriots can finally find that one guy that fits all of their running back needs into one player, I will bet you he will get a ton of playing time and a ton of points.